Hey, Doc, can I borrow your DeLorean?
Why?
My dad loaned his 4x4 to Biff, and he crashed it.
Oh, well.
I'm going on a date with Jesse at the lake. We're gonna put a couple of sleeping bags in the back, lie out under the beautiful stars.
The DeLorean can't carry that much luggage. Well, if you're going to be away from home, and you don't want to get into a car accident, can you please listen to one piece of highway science?
Sure thing, Doc.
A car is full of science. But today we're not talking about the car itself, we're talking about the road.
Oh, that's so cool. Roads don't seem to have any science to them, but...
Well, don't say that, just listen to me. What would happen if there was a right-angle turn on the highway?
It's dangerous.
Well, of course it is.
No, what are you talking about?
I'll explain why it's dangerous.
I think it's dangerous without explanation.
I want you to look at these graphs and a figure. In this graph, the horizontal axis represents the distance, and the vertical axis represents the direction of the car, as it travels along the road shown in the figure. If the car is driving at the same speed all the time, the horizontal axis represents time. Here's what the graph looks like when you drive on this road. Do you see what the problem is?
Is it because the direction of travel turns 90 degrees all at once at the bend?
Correct. In other words, the direction of travel is changing discontinuously. So, what do you think we should do?
Well, 90 degrees is obviously too steep, so why don't we connect it with an arc?
You'd think so, but you'll still crash into the wall.
Why? I'm sure it's fine.
I'll explain it to you. I did what Mike said and inserted an arc into the bend.
I think I can make the turn.
This is a graph of the same axis as before. When I drive on the road shown in the figure, the graph will look like this.
See, it's alright. It's connected.
Next, let's consider the graph on the right. The vertical axis is the rate of change in the direction of travel. In other words, it is the derivative of the direction of motion with time.
Differentiation is difficult.
To put it simply, it's the angle of the steering wheel.
Is that right?
Let's consider a circular road for a moment.
Okay.
In this case, the direction of travel of the car is constantly changing. For example, if you drive a car around the circle in 1 minute, the direction of travel changes by 360 degrees in 60 seconds, or exactly 6 degrees per second. In other words, the slope of the middle graph is constant.
I see. So the change in the direction of travel per second is the slope.
That's right. I said that the graph on the right is the rate of change in the direction of travel, right? If it's constant, then it's a graph with zero slope.
Okay.
By the way, Mike, can you imagine what the steering wheel would look like if you were driving on a circular road at a constant speed?
It might be stuck at the same angle the whole time.
That's right. That's because the angle of the steering wheel is nothing but the rate of change of the direction. Do you understand?
I think I do.
Okay, well, let's get back to that. This graph on the right shows the rate of change in the direction of travel, as we studied earlier. This is the angle of the steering wheel. For the straight line section, you don't need to bend the steering wheel, right? For the arc section, as we saw earlier, we have to fix it at a certain angle, and then it's a straight line section again, so the steering wheel is back to normal. Just imagine for a moment, the moment you enter the arc section, it would be pretty hard to reach and fix the angle of the steering wheel to the angle of the circle in an instant, right?
For example, I'd have to turn the steering wheel 1 revolution in an instant, right?
That's right. It's impossible at that point, and if you were to turn the wheel even a little too late, you'd go a long way on the highway.
I'm going to run into a wall.
And that's not all. You'll be blown away by the sudden centrifugal force.
So you're saying that the graphs of the angle of steering wheel need to be connected to each other?
That's right. That's Mike.
By the way, you just said something about time derivatives for a moment. Tell me more about it.
Nice. The graph in the middle, and the graph on the right, have a derivative and integral relationship with each other. The middle graph is the direction of travel of the car, and each interval can be represented by the following equation. The interval AB is a linear function whose slope is theta.
Yes.
Let's differentiate each of them. Then, the derivative coefficient of each interval is as follows. You can see that the derivative of the direction of travel of the car is the angle of the steering wheel, right?
Oh, indeed. So there's differential calculus all around us.
Yes, yes. Differential and integral calculus is not something special, it's a common thing in this world. It's just a convenient tool to handle it mathematically.
I'll try to listen to my math classes more carefully.
Okay, so finally, we're going to figure out what kind of curve is the curve that doesn't cause accidents.
Okay, here we go.
What do you think we should do, Mike?
Well, should we make the graph of the angle of the steering wheel connected?
Great idea. Then, let's make the graph look like this. Imagine you're driving a car, and you start to turn the wheel at the entrance of a curve. Then you turn the wheel back in the middle of the curve, and finally, when you exit the curve, the wheel is at its original angle. Right? So, let's look at the equation. Intervals OA and CD are straight segments, so the angle of the steering wheel is 0. In other words, y equals 0, assuming that the steering wheel is turned at an angular velocity of omega on a curve. The interval AB is a linear function of the slope omega, and the interval BC is a linear function of the slope minus omega. Let's assume that alpha and beta are appropriate values. Can you integrate each interval?
Is it like this?
Nice work. If you take the integral constant appropriately so that the graphs are connected, the middle graph will look like this. I won't go into the details, but the interval AB is a quadratic function that is convex downward, and the interval BC is a quadratic function that is convex upward, so it doesn't look strange, does it?
Ooh, that's smooth.
That's right. Smooth is mathematically continuous and differentiable, but don't think too much about it. Anyway, doesn't it look like it can turn?
It sure does.
If I draw a diagram of the road, it looks like this.
At the beginning of the curve, it doesn't turn much. But in the middle of the curve, it seems to be steeper than the arc. Are you okay with this?
It's fine. By the way, the kind of curve I just thought of is called a clozoid curve.
It has a name.
It's a famous curve. It was first used in the world for highways on the Autobahn in Germany. In fact, it's often used as a combination of a clozoid curve and a circular arc.
Wow, as expected of Germans.
It's also used in roller coasters. The rate of change of the angle, or the angle of the steering wheel in a car, is directly related to the force on the body. So, for example, if a roller coaster has a circular track, there will be a sudden large G-forces. The vertical loop of the roller coaster built in Coney Island, New York, was made in the shape of a circle, and people who rode it passed out due to the excessive G-forces.
That's dangerous.
Actually, science is protecting our bodies in many ways.
That's right. We should be thankful for the clozoid curve.
Oh, you're starting to appreciate the curve. That's a good idea.
I think we should go to an amusement park for our date tomorrow. I'm starting to feel like riding a roller coaster. Maybe Jessie will pass out from my charm.
In this channel, we will continue to post videos on topics that make science accessible and fun.
If you find today's video interesting or informative, please click the good button and subscribe.
Also, please feel free to comment.
See you in about 30 years.
Bye.